IPv6 endpoints have several options in how to set their IPv6 routable addresses, and the nearby routers help guide them. In this video, we talk about one of those options called Stateful DHCP. Let's go. This chapter comes in the middle of a chapter focused on endpoints. We've already talked about Neighbor Discovery Protocol, and now we'll talk about dynamic configuration of host IPv6 settings. In the current books, it's at the end of the first volume. And in that particular chapter, I split out the first section into two videos, each on NDP. And now I'm splitting out the second section into two videos. This first one about using DHCP version 6, specifically stateful DHCPv6, with another one on Slack. All right, so for this video, here's where we're headed. We'll review DHCPv4 so we can compare it to DHCPv6 in the next bit of this video. Then we'll talk about how routers direct clients as to what they should do, in this case using stateful DHCPv6 with this idea of address config flags. Then I'll close it out with a brief topic that technically isn't within the scope of CCNA, but it's useful in lab. That is how to configure in iOS a stateful DHCP server. All right, stay around to the end as usual, and I'll talk about how to prepare here at the channel, how to prepare using the books, and how to navigate the free CCNA course. All right, let's get into it. We talked about DHCPv4 a while back, but you may have forgotten some details, so let me review a few things. First off, we've got a client on the far left, and there are two routers between it and the DHCP server, which is pretty normal that the server is centrally located and far away from most of the clients. With DHCP version 4, the messages used to lease an IPv4 address are discover, offer, request, and acknowledgement. So we'll refer to those as the DORA messages. It's a nice, easy word to remember or acronym to remember. And that's the flow. But when you get into the details, you'll notice that that DORA message, it has an issue to overcome. That discover message from the client happens before the client has a routable address. That is an address that can be used for sending packets back and forth anywhere in the IP version 4 network. So that packet, that discover message, it has a source IP address of all zeros, which is just a placeholder as something to put into the packet header. And that client can't even receive packets back to the all zeros address. It can't be a destination address at all. And the destination is the, quote, local subnet broadcast address. That is the address used to say, hey, everybody in the subnet, look at this, it might be for you. But routers won't route packets sent to this all 255's address by definition. So this discover message can't possibly get to the DHCP server by itself. The router's going to get it and say, hey, the destination is all 255's, I don't route that. All right, so something more must be done, and you probably remember that. And the thing that must be done, oh, by the way, this page, you can hit pause and read the definitions if you want, but I'm just going to move on since I've already talked about it. The solution to this is this idea of a DHCP relay is the idea, and it's configured on this subnet, on this interface on the router connected to the same subnet as the client. So this left-hand interface in this drawing. And it's the IP helper address command, and it points to the IP address of the DHCP server. And here's the action that happens as a result. That PC on the left sends that same old discover message with those same addresses we just talked about. Destination is all 255's. So R1, when it gets that, it says, hey, I need to change the source and destination address. That's what this IP helper address command's logic does. And it changes the destination to the configured address 10.1.2.250, which is the DHCP server's address. So the packet will be routed and delivered to the server. It changes the source address to the router's address so that on the return trip, as we see here, the server is ready to send that return message. The destination is back to the router, R1's address, 10.1.1.254, coming from the server. So the router can then translate those addresses again and say, hey, that's for me, it's UDP, so I'm going to forward it out this left-hand interface, but I'm going to broadcast it out onto that left-hand interface, solving the problem of the fact that this client needs to send a packet past several routers to the server before it has a routable address. A growing number of you have been asking about this, and I'm humbled that you would, but If you really would like to support the channel directly, I've got two ways to do that. You can see the links on the screen, but buy me a coffee with my name and initial there. You can give me a tip directly there and buy me a coffee. Or here at YouTube, if you look for the icon that's a heart with a $sign on it, you can do what's called a super thanks there. Of course, that encourages me and helps me along my way to create this content, which I hope you're enjoying. I'm certainly enjoying doing it. All right, back to the video. In comparison, the big theme is identical, but the particulars vary a lot. All right, so first off, the messages themselves are different. The first two messages are solicit and advertise, but they have the same basic meaning in terms of what's wanting to be accomplished. And let's just say the DHCP version 6 server is on the same subnet as our client A in this case. All right, so there's no need for a relay agent yet in this case. Now, remember, we had to use those weird addresses, all zeros and all 255s with IP version 4. Here, we can take advantage of, first, this address. This is the well-known multicast address. It's link local, so it flows only on the local subnet. And that's the well-known address for all DHCP servers. All right, so it's going to reach this DHCP server and it'll process it. All right, so we've got that covered. We don't need to use a broadcast address. In fact, IPv6 doesn't allow broadcast addresses. Additionally, A has an address it can use. It uses its link local address. Those are made by IPv6 specifically for initialization issues just like this. All right, so A's ready even to receive a reply. In fact, that advertise message back from the server, it's going to be sent to A's link local address so A can receive it back. And the source is just going to be the server's GUA, in this case, its routable address. So on the local subnet with a local DHCP server, everything's good. But you can guess if we put the DHCP version 6 server far away, the same basic topology we had with the version 4 example, something else is going to have to happen, and it's going to be called DHCPv6 Relay. And the big idea is the same. This router is going to see the request, know it needs to act, it'll change the addresses, and the request will be forwarded over here to the right. The server will get it and send a reply back. R1 will translate the addresses. But the particulars are different in some ways. For instance, the PC on the left here sends the message. It's sent to this link local multicast address, so the router's not going to want to route it normally. Instead, it needs to be configured with the relay agent. But instead of a helper address term, it's simply IPv6 DHCP relay to begin the command, has destination, and then it gives the address of the DHCP version 6 server that we see over here. There you go. Now the function is enabled. Now when this message comes into R1's left-hand interface, it will be sent out to the right with some differences with version 4. In particular, the solicit message becomes a, quote, relay forward message, signifying it's been forwarded by a relay agent. And if you look at the drawing of the message itself, it says DHCP, DHCP. Because what happens is the original solicit message gets encapsulated in here, and the relay forward message's job is just to move this DHCP message to the server, and there's the original solicit message hidden inside. Again, just a small difference in how the protocol works. The message gets over there to the DHCP version 6 server. It sends a reply. So the reply has that advertise in here, but in here it's a relay, a relay reply message, gets back to router R1, who acts on the fact that it's a relay agent, switches the addresses in the header, and sends this packet over to A's link local address, completing the circuit so A gets that advertisement and sees an address that it can use. So I've been tossing out this term of stateful DHCP rather than just DHCP. So what do I really mean by that? Well, with IP version 4, DHCP was stateful in that the server leased IP addresses and it kept track of it. So when I keep track of an address, I keep information about an address and who's using it. That's state information. So all of DHCP version 4 is stateful. So with version 6, here's what happens. First off, not using DHCP, clients learn the prefix links, that is the mask to use in a subnet, and the prefix ID and the default router address without even using DHCP. All that's learned from the NDP router advertisement message. But then they still need some other client settings, right? They need a routable address and they need to know the list of DNS servers. And those are two things that can be learned from a DHCPv6 server. And when a client learns both of those from the DHCP version 6 server, we call that stateful DHCP. Now, why is it stateful? Because the leasing of this unicast address is something that the server keeps track of. It keeps state information. It knows a particular endpoint uses this address, another one uses this other address, and so on. So it's keeping state information. So when a client leases an address from the DHCP version 6 server, great. Clients don't have to do that, which is part of the point here. So let's talk through this idea of using a stateful DHCP version 6 service for just a moment and how to make the routers make that work. So here's our client A, and let's just say we on the network team want to use stateful DHCP. But generically speaking, the client, as I mentioned before, has options. It's capable of several options for how it sets up to learn its settings for IP version 6. So it could ask questions like this, or at least its logic kind of looks like these questions. Should I lease an address with DHCPv6? In other words, should I use a stateful DHCPv6 server? Or should I only learn the list of DNS servers and not lease an address? That's called stateless DHCP. Or should I do neither? Or should I completely ignore the DHCP process? That can work too. All three of those. So instead of, get this, instead of having all the clients have some manual settings that we could get wrong, we have a process by which the router tells all the clients which of these we want the clients in that subnet to use. So it's in control of the network team. It's chosen by the network team. We direct them. And the way we direct them is that familiar NDP RSRA process. So A says, I need to answer those questions. Which of these processes should I use? Let me send out the usual RS. I find my router. I get a router advertisement. I learn all those other things we talked about. But there's also a couple of flags or bits that denote some things like, how should I act as a client? How should I learn my routable address? How should I do those other things? And there's a flag called the M flag, and it means managed config flag. And I'm not a fan of the choice of words, but what it means is there's a DHCP server that's managing the leasing of addresses. It means use stateful DHCP. Try to lease your address from a DHCP server. With this flag set, it's signaling to the client, start doing DHCP and try to lease your address. All right. Now, in order for that M flag to flow, you've got to configure some things. So it's up to you. It's up to you as part of the network team, to make your strategic choice and then to configure your routers correctly. So if we go back to the big context of, say, a client like A on the left and the DHCP server on the right, we've talked about the need for a relay agent on the interface connected to this subnet on the left. So we'll see that configuration repeated here on R1's gig 00 interface. But you also then need this command, IPv6 ND for neighbor discovery, managed-config-flag, which says set the managed flag. And then in your RAs sent back out here, just as in the previous slide, it says, hey, use stateful DHCP and try to lease an IP address from the server, and it should work if you've set up the server correctly now, and all is good. Now, when you're looking around to confirm this, you can look straight at the configuration on router R1, but the show IPv6 interface command will give you a lot of lines of output, and if you skip down and you go to the very last line, or maybe the last couple of lines, you'll see this phrase, if you've configured to set the M bit. That is, it will appear if it's set, but if you leave the command out and don't set the M bit, it does not appear. The default is that the flag is not set, that is, it's disabled or off, and this line simply does not appear in that case. But if it does appear, it confirms that you set the M bit, and life is good. You're telling all the clients, hey, use stateful DHCP. If you want to test this out in lab, you can configure a DHCPv6 server function in a router. So I show this as a server icon, but if you put a router there in your lab tool, you can configure like this. You create a pool, IPv6 DHCP pool, and you make up a name like this one I made up. And then you've got subcommands like this. You define the prefix, and the prefix would be the same prefix or subnet that you use where the client resides. So if we look over here, that's the subnet over here. So we've got the subnet prefix and then the prefix length of /64. You can define one or more DNS servers like you see here. And then it's a good idea to define the domain name. Example.com is good because that's used for documentation. Then the thing that people sometimes miss is this. You go to the interface on which, here's our server, on the server interface still, and you configure the IPv6 DHCP server command to enable DHCPv6 services for incoming packets on the interface, and you refer up to this pool. So on this interface, use this command. Now that router acting as a DHCPv6 server is ready to receive messages. This particular router needs to have connectivity and routes so it can send and receive packets as well. Now, none of that is within the CCNA blueprint, in my opinion. I'm just telling you that so you can have a better lab experience. The rest of this picture then is, don't forget on the client side, you need to have a relay agent. And if you want to use that stateful DHCP server, you need to have the managed config flag turned on, as we just talked about a few minutes ago. Whew, you made it through. What should you make sure and take away from this video? Well, you want to make sure you know how to configure on the client side router, the relay agent, and that managed config flag. All right, so make sure you know those and just a general idea of the packet flows with DHCPv6. Then here at the channel, there's a lab. If you're watching this right when the video comes out, it'll probably be posted the day after I post this learning video. In the topology, I've put the client on the right and the server on the left this time. I've changed the addresses around versus the examples in the video. And the interface IDs are different. And the interface IDs matter a little bit because they all start with E for Ethernet. And that's a clue that we're using CML free in this case. CML uses only Ethernet type interfaces. So why is that? Well, it turns out Packet Tracer in the current versions doesn't support a DHCP version 6 relay agent. So we couldn't do a useful lab in Packet Tracer. So it's CML only here, but I made sure it worked in CML free edition if you'd like to try that out. So the idea in this lab is you configure stateful DHCP, and the lab comes with the server pre-configured, so you can look around and learn from the pre-configured lab. Your job is going to be to figure out where to configure the relay agent and the M flag and to figure that out. And verify then that PC1, which is actually a router acting as a client computer, to see if it really did learn all of the appropriate settings. Then back in the book, I'd say use the in-chapter exercises. You could skim this particular topic and study the key topics that are noted in the chapter as well. The next learning topic in sequence is about stateless DHCP and SLAAC. All right, so SLAAC is for the address assignment. Stateless DHCP is for the DNS server list. However, if you're ready for that config lab, click over on the right for the intro video, and that'll help guide you through that process. Thanks for taking the time. I'll see you in the next video.